Pesachim Perek Chet, Mishnah Chet, 8th Mishnah and the 8th chapter of Pesachim. Says Mishnah, we're going to talk about an onain. So we've learned before, in 2 Mishnayot ago, that an onain is a person who lost a loved one, whose loved one died during the day. Okay, let's look at a chart. I made you a chart about this. Okay, if a person, lost someone, niftar krov mishpacha, if his relative died on that day, stalus b'oto yom, during the day, he's what's called an onain deoraita, and he's of course exempt from mitzvah. We know what that is. The night is called an onain derabanan, and we learned that he eats the Korban Pesach. Oops, I shouldn't have done that. He eats the Korban Pesach at night. Ochel Korban Pesach balayla. That's what our Mishnah says. Onain tovel ve'ochel et pischo la'erev. We learn that an onain, he goes to the mikvah and he eats his Pesach at night. But the Mishnah adds here, avalo be'kachim, but he doesn't eat kachim. If he has other korbanot, for example, it's not Erev Pesach, but he brought a korban, and then he's learned that his relative died. He's an onain. He can't eat his korban. What about at night? So let's look at the Bar Tenura. Ein aninut mina Torah el bayom. That's what we learned. He's an onain deoraita, Torah onain, the status of onain during the day. Shneamar ve'achalti chatat hayom. It's referring to when Aaron was talking to, he lost his sons. And Moshe Rabbeinu is yelling at him, why did you eat the korban chatat? Because he's the Kohen. He said, achalti chatat hayom, I eat the chatat today. Yom asur, laila mutar. Okay? He needs of yom and not laila. Utvila ba, he has to go to the tefillah because he couldn't eat, he has to go to the mikvah. But he can't, so he eats the Korban Pesach. Avalo achil onein b'shar kachim la'erev. The onein doesn't eat other kachim, other korbanot. The aninut laila sirami d'Rabbanan. That's what we learned in our chart. We said, okay, onein during the day is a raita, and at night it's inisu d'Rabbanan. Okay, and therefore, l'gabe Pesach. If it's regarding the Korban Pesach, lo emidu divrayim b'makom karei. If you don't need the Korban Pesach, there's a chiyuv kareit. So therefore, the Rabbanan said, kareit, Korban Pesach, kareit wins. Okay? Aval achilat shar kachim asay be'almahu. But eating other kachim is an asay. V'achlu atam ashir kupar b'am. The Rabbanan said, since it's a din asay, therefore, you don't lo kachim. He doesn't eat kachim at night. Mashma'ut, ochel Korban Pesach ba'layla, aval lo kachim. Let's just make that clear. Ba'layla. You can't eat the kachim at night. On the other hand, the Mishnah continues. Hashomea al meito. If you hear that your relative died, I'm almost sure. If you think I'm wrong, you let me know. Okay, it's shmu'a rechoka. It's called. You're not an avel, but you heard after the first. I think after shloshim, whatever. You heard that your relative died. Then you're an avel, but during that day. So it's only one day. Or hamalaket lo atzamot. Likut atzamot is the collection of bones, and this refers to the preferred method of burial in the times of the Mishnah. They just didn't have burial spaces, like even in Israel today. We have a very great shortage of burial spaces. They did not just bury people out in the open field. You have kachim, you have problems. They would make caves. They would dig caves. We actually learned this in previous Mishnayot. And in those caves, they would stick the body and they would close it up with a rock, and they would wait a period of time until the body had decomposed, and then they would collect the bones and just bury those bones. That day is called the day of likut atzamot, from laket, the collection of the bones, and that's the day is the day of avelut. So therefore, on that day, you are an onain, but only the Rabbanan. So therefore, hashomei al meito, if you hear about your dead relative, that he died, or you collected the bones, so you're an onain the Rabbanan, tovel ve'ochel be'kachim. That's our Mishnah. So you can take your tovel, you go to the mikvah, and then you eat kachim. Liket atzamot, you're an onain the Rabbanan, status. Therefore, status balayla at night, you're nothing. And therefore, at night, of course, you eat the Korban Pesach, and you also eat the kachim. You go to the mikveh because you couldn't eat kachim, now you can, and then you can eat your korban. Mishnah continues. Gershon eat gari be'erev Pesach. Let's say a non-Jew converts on erev Pesach. So he had his circumcision. Okay, he couldn't eat, and now he can. Beit Shammai says, Tovel ve'ochel pischo be'erev, no problem. He goes to the mikveh, and then he eats his Korban Pesach at night. Okay, no problem. Beit Hillel says, haparesh min ha'orla. When you separate yourself from the foreskin, he had a circumcision. Kiparesh min hakever. It's as if you're separating yourself from the grave, and you have to wait 7 days. Tzarich says the Beit Hillel, tzarich hazaa shlishi ushvi'i. You have to do the sprinkling of the parah aduma on the 3rd day and the 7th day, and only then can he eat the Korban Pesach. Now, who's obvious and who's interesting here? Beit Shammai seems obvious. Why in the world would Beit Hillel say that you have to do, when somebody converts, he has to do the tahara and go 7 days? Beit Hillel is really interesting, much more machmir. Okay? Ela be'arel nachri. It's only talking about his non-circumcised non-Jew. Shemal b'yom arba'azar. Who did the circumcision on the 14th. The Beit Hillel Savre. Beit Hillel says, Zeira shema yitama l'shana haba. Maybe he'll get tamei the next year. V'yomar, and he'll say, Ishtakad, last year, lo taharti mikol tuma ad yom erev pesach shetavalti ve'achalti. Last year, they let me go on the day I got circumcised, I converted, I went to the mikveh, and boom, okay? Hashtanami et bol ve'ochal. Now also, I will go to the mikveh and eat. V'lo yada, he didn't know, the ishtakad nachriyaya. Last year, he wasn't a good non-Jew, v'lo mekabel tuma, he wasn't tameh. Achshav Yisraelu umekabel tuma, and now he's a Jew, and he's mekabel tuma. So Beit Shammai is the normative halacha. He can go to the mikveh and eat. Beit Hillel, they have this really interesting, crazy chumrah. I wouldn't say crazy, in the stringent chumrah. Why? They say, listen, the convert, he'll think, well, he'll get tummy. He say, last year I went to the mikveh, it was fine. This year I'll also go to the mikveh and be fine. And it'll be chayav karet. So therefore, we have to do this year, even when he converts, we have to say, no, you have to go through this whole rigmarole so you won't make the mistake next year. To me, it's really interesting because it tells you how much knowledge did a convert have. Like, he didn't even have this simple, basic knowledge. There was no, sheet about the rules of Korban Pesach to convert. Sure, next year he won't even know anything. Tells us a little bit about the level of knowledge that Beit Hillel assumed vis-a-vis each and every convert. Really interesting, something to consider. We'll stop here. If you have any comments or questions, email me at rspolter@gmail.com. I will dedicate our learning to the memory of my father, Rav Simcha ben Yitzchak Kalman. Have a good day.